Hello, hi. How are you guys? And welcome to our webinar today, how to build bulletproof security for your website. My name is Mila. I am a customer care supervisor at SiteGround. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker today. I'm sure that most of you already know him, but for those who don't, this is Daniel Kanchev. He's our product and development lead here at SiteGround. And he will tell us a little bit more about the most common website security threats, what simple but important security measures you can take against them, and which are the most overlooked website security mistakes. Before I give you the word, Daniel, I need to mention a few important things. This webinar will be 1 hour. The presentation will take approximately 45 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session. If you want your question to be addressed, please post in the Ask a Question section. The webinar will be recorded. Everybody who registered for the session today will get an email with recording link. This will be also posted on our YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything important from us. And I think that's pretty much it. I hope you will enjoy the webinar today. Daniel, it's you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be a host of a third webinar that we're doing this year. I'm happy that today we have the opportunity to talk about website security because that has always been one of my favorite topics. So it's Cybersecurity Month. For those of you who don't know, October is the international month which is dedicated to cybersecurity and to protecting your applications, data, and broad discussions about what you can do and how you can make your website unhackable. Of course, bulletproof website security is something that takes a lot of effort. And I would like to start by mentioning a talk that I gave, I think, in 2013. So in 2013, I presented at a WordPress conference in Portugal, Porto, and it was about the 8 most popular ways to hack a WordPress website. Before securing something, you need to know how to hack it. And I started my presentation back then by telling everyone in the audience that my purpose was to scare the people in the audience, to show them how easy it is to hack a website which is not well protected. So today I'm gonna take another approach. I don't want to scare you guys. I actually want to make you feel comfortable and safe, and to give you solutions to all the problems that can lead to a hack event or security breach of your website. Today, which is almost 10 years since I gave that talk, we have so many ready-made solutions that are provided by us on our servers and that can help you achieve that bulletproof security. And I'm going to share with you the most common problems that we see nowadays by hosting millions of websites and how to approach and solve all of those issues. So let's get started. The threat number 1 is something that we've seen for years and years. It is related to data that you send from your devices, from your computer, your tablet or phone, to the server hosting your website. What I mean is that on any hosting infrastructure where your site could be, or your email or an FTP service, you send data through a network. That happens, for example, when you access your WordPress, when you log in to your email or you access FTP to download or upload new files. And you type in your username and password, and they are sent through the network to the server. The server validates those credentials and then lets you in. If you're connected to a public Wi-Fi, for example, you are in a Starbucks cafe and you are accessing your website from that public Wi-Fi, then if your website is not protected with an SSL certificate, there could be another person on the same network that could see the username and the password in clear text, because that information in that case is not encrypted and travels through the network without any encryption whatsoever. So anyone sitting in between your device and the server hosting your website or your emails or your FTP service can actually see your username and password and it's easy after that for that person to access your account. The solution is very simple. It is using SSL encryption. So for every service that you are actively using, opening your website, your WordPress or another CMS administrative area, or accessing your email or FTP, always use a connection that is encrypted. That way, when you type your username and password, they are sent through the wire in an encrypted format. Even if there is another person on the same network, they cannot see what's inside of those packets that are traveling from your device to the server. So they cannot simply write down your username and password. To be honest, nowadays, SSL certificates, they're pretty common already. 10 years ago, just a fraction of all the websites in the internet were using SSL certificates. Like probably about 18 to 25% was the wide adoption of using SSL certificates for all the websites. Right now, it's over 90%. On our servers, for example, we do install SSL certificates, which are free for all the websites if the domain name is pointed to us. So we do that by default in order to protect our users. We also offer additional paid SSL certificates that you can get if you want a higher level of protection. The paid SSL certificates are valid for longer periods of time, so you don't have to renew it often. And also, paid SSL certificates provide a warranty if something happens. Like if there is a data breach which is caused by leaked certificates, then there is a warranty. We do offer the regular certificates for free. You can access them through our site management interface and see if your domain name actually has one installed. As I've said, over 90% of all the sites we host have those free SSL certificates. Many people also opt in and purchase an additional one, which provides a higher level of security. Right now, for October Security Month, we do have a 50% off for the paid ones. So if you need that extra level of protection, you can go and check the offer out. The next threat that we have seen over the years is brute forcing. If an attacker cannot check your traffic and see your login details, then they have the option to try hundreds of thousands of times to guess the username and password. If you have selected an easy username, like for example, admin and password 1234, then it's really easy for an attacker to try different combinations of users and passwords that they're using from a list and just try to log in. And they will succeed eventually. If you have a really simple password and a username, it could take them minutes. If you have a very complicated password, it would take them like days, weeks, and months. Eventually, they may guess it as well. And they will access, again, successfully your website, your FTP, your email, and have access to your information. So brute forcing is something that we see a lot. And we do protect our customers from that. We have an internally built solution that is applied for free on all servers, and it works under the hood of our hosting solution and protects all the websites that are hosted on our servers. It's an AI system that pretty much makes brute forcing attacks incapable of succeeding. So what is a brute force attack? As I've said, an automated script or an attacker can try to guess your user and password for a certain period of time. We do monitor all login attempts, and when a login attempt is not successful, we see that and we log it in a centralized system. And when we see that a single IP address has made more than X number of login attempts for a short period of time, then we can safely assume that is a brute force attack. And we can block the source of the attack. For example, the IP address which has attempted to access that website and brute force the login details. The beauty of the whole system is that it works locally on tens of thousands of servers. And after that, each server feeds a centralized system with information. So that gives us an advantage. If we see that a specific IP address has tried to brute force a WordPress website on server A in Europe, for example, we can globally block this IP address on our whole infrastructure. The same IP address will not be able to brute force another website on any of the other servers. And that's a huge win. Right now, we block about 430 million requests per day. In some cases, we cannot be absolutely sure that a request is legitimate or it is malicious. So we do have another layer of protection. We can show those users a CAPTCHA, and if they solve the CAPTCHA, we can then show them the real page that they are requesting. Daily, we do show about 250 million CAPTCHA pages to many automated requests, and only 40,000 of those requests actually load the CAPTCHA and solve it, which is less than 0.1%. So the efficiency of that system is pretty high. Of course, there are more things that you can do on application level as a webmaster of your website to protect yourself from brute force attacks. The second thing that I would like to talk about is two-factor authentication. So for those of you who don't know, two-factor authentication is a process when even if you know the username and the password of an account and you try to access that interface, then the system actually wants from you another piece of information in order to let you in. Usually that's something like temporary 6-digit code that you can obtain from your device. And our SiteGround.com client area, where you purchase your hosting services from us, supports two-factor authentication. And I strongly advise everyone to enable two-factor authentication for your SiteGround.com client area, because when you do that, even if an attacker guesses your password, they will not be able to access your client area with us unless they have access to your device, like your mobile phone, where they will be able to get that additional bit of information they need in order to access the account. A good example I can give you is that very often people reuse their passwords. The password you're using for Facebook or Instagram sometimes could be the same as the one you're using for your hosting management client interface. If your password from another service leaks and the database of another service provider is hacked and the information is obtained by hackers, they will try to directly access your account with the same password. If it's the same, then they will succeed in accessing your account. If you have enabled two-factor authentication, then that attack will practically be impossible because the system will ask them for the second step verification and the attack will not succeed. So just enable two-factor authentication for your SiteGround.com user area, and that increases the level of security by orders of magnitude. For WordPress websites, we have developed a free plugin, which is called SiteGround Security Plugin. All of our WordPress websites that are installed through our system have it pre-installed. So if you have installed your WordPress through our site management control panel, you should already have that plugin. If you don't have it installed, my advice is to install it because it also offers the same methodology for two-factor authentication to prevent attacks. So for WordPress customers, we do advise them to use our plugin, and that is a screenshot that you see right here of some of the security settings of the plugin. You can enable two-factor authentication for admin users of WordPress, and again, brute force attacks will be practically impossible for this website. There are also other settings you can configure and tweak, like how many login attempts will be allowed for WordPress specifically, and you can disable the default admin username that is configured for some WordPress applications. The beauty of that plugin is not only that you have full control, but that plugin feeds information to our AI system. So we also get metadata from the plugin, and we are able to find patterns in the global traffic requests that come to our servers. So using the plugin will also help us protect other websites, and your site will also be protected by other users of the plugin. That's really nice, and it's free for all. Which brings me to the next topic. Number 3 security threat, which is very common, is finding application vulnerabilities. What are application vulnerabilities? I will give you an example that is valid for any type of CMS. Let's say that you're using WordPress with a template and 7 plugins. One of those plugins has a security flaw into its code, but no one knows about it. And suddenly, a security researcher, which is also an attacker, usually that's how it works, finds that security flaw and makes this plugin vulnerable. At this moment, all the applications hosted worldwide that use this plugin are vulnerable to an attack which can utilize that vulnerability. If the plugin developers are not aware of that security flaw in the code of the plugin, and that is released publicly, like there is no time buffer for the developers to develop a patch, that's called a zero-day vulnerability. And if I'm an attacker and I have a database with many WordPress websites and I know that there are 10,000 WordPress websites hosted on certain servers, I can immediately attack those websites and gain access to them. So what's the solution? Obviously, one of the solutions is to constantly monitor if there are updates for your plugins and themes, and update whenever you see a new version. But in reality, we see that's not how it works. Users need some time. Developers also need some time to figure out how to patch the security flaw, how to release a working version of the code that addresses that security flaw, and so on. And in the meantime, those websites are vulnerable. In order to fight that problem, there is something which is pretty standard for all of the good hosting providers out there, and it is called Web Application Firewall. We have a Web Application Firewall, and I'm going to explain how it works and what resources are needed in order for that Web Application Firewall to protect your website. We do have an internal team of security researchers that check for such vulnerabilities and also monitor security feeds where other researchers find such vulnerabilities. When we are informed about such a vulnerability or we find one ourselves, we report it to the developers of the plugin and the team. At the same time, we write a security rule which patches that hole in the security of the plugin or the team on server level. So we don't have to upgrade all of the websites and all of the plugins that people are using. On a server level, we write a rule that addresses the problem. It blocks the malicious requests that attempt to exploit such a vulnerability in a plugin. At the same time, the website continues to work. Legitimate traffic continues to flow to the website. This is very nice for several reasons. The first one is that when we write a security rule, after that we can see in the logs the IP addresses that are attempting to exploit this vulnerability. If someone is trying to exploit a known vulnerability, we block this IP address again across the whole server fleet. So if one IP address is attacking a WordPress website or another CMS through a known vulnerability, we block it with the rule, and then we prevent further access from that IP address. Now here is the moment to mention that we are partners of WordPress, and we do have information about security releases. When the core of WordPress has a security issue, we do work with WordPress and we protect websites in advance. That is a big advantage when it comes to being in a partnership with WordPress. We have also people working as part of the security team of WordPress. So we are committing code to WordPress itself. Some of the biggest plugin providers, such as Yoast, which is used for SEO, and many of the other big plugin providers are also clients of ours. So when they have a security problem, they also inform us, so we have enough time to write those security rules for the Web Application Firewall. The Web Application Firewall today blocks about 50 million malicious requests per day, all those traffic is practically something that doesn't reach your website. That's something that we do by default, and you don't even see it in the access logs of your website. So that's one way to fight those problems. If you are hosted with a company that does not offer a web application firewall by default, I have two advices. First one is to find another one which does offer a web application firewall. And the second one is to look for a WordPress plugin that has web application firewall as part of WordPress itself. If you cannot migrate, at least you can reduce the risk by using a web application firewall which is built into WordPress. Moving on to another topic, which is outdated software. It's not only vulnerabilities in plugins and themes, but outdated software is also on the top of the list. If you do not update a certain software product, at some point, of course, it will become vulnerable. Or if it does not become vulnerable, the official support for old version of that software will stop. Developers sometimes make breaking changes, and really old versions of software products are left behind. At some point, you will definitely have security issues. In terms of software, as an end user, you're probably thinking about WordPress itself, or Joomla, or Magento, or whatever you're using, and the plugins around your website. So that's the end user software that you are using. In reality, this WordPress website or your email, they run on servers, and there is a ton of server software which is also related to security of your website and all the services. You have PHP, you have Apache or Nginx as web servers, you have MySQL as a database engine, and so on. If any of those gets outdated, that's a potential security risk for your data, for your clients, and for your website. So what we do about security? Because we do host so many WordPress websites, automatic updates, and they are fully managed. Whenever a new version of WordPress is released, we upgrade WordPress for our clients, and we create full backups of the websites before we update them. Once they are upgraded, our system performs certain checks to make sure that the website is still loading normally in the browser. If it does, everything's fine. If it doesn't, then we automatically restore from the backup. So you don't have to worry about the upgrade of the WordPress core. On top of it, you can also select an additional option for our system to upgrade all of your plugins and templates whenever we upgrade the WordPress core. For the PHP and all the other server software that I mentioned, we also fully manage that. So whenever there is a new version of PHP, the web servers we're using, or database engine and everything. And as a matter of fact, there is one very big difference between how we operate our server software and how majority of other providers not do it. Most of them, they download the official release of WordPress from the official repositories or Nginx or Apache or whatever, and they use it. On our end, we don't do that. We download the source code of those services and we build the packages ourselves. Very often, we add additional layers of security on top of that. For example, we have our own code, which is incorporated into PHP and provides better security. The same is with Nginx, Base Engine, and so on. We fully manage also the updates of the server-related software. Rest assured that if there is a security release coming from PHP, it will be instantly deployed on all of our servers. Which brings me to the fifth thing that I want to talk about, and it is malicious code. There is always a chance that somehow malicious code can end up into your website. Believe it or not, 100% protection is not something doable. There is always a little chance that somehow a targeted attack towards your website would succeed. But that's not something that should scare you, because whenever something like that happens, there are also ways to mitigate the attack, to solve it, to prevent damage that can happen. So, malicious code. Here I would like to talk about our SiteGround site scanner, which is a paid service. I would like to tell you a story before I talk about the advantages of SiteGround site scanner. We recently wrote a blog post about a specific attack that we detected because of the paid SiteGround site scanner acted as a source of information so that we can limit that attack and prevent it from spreading. We protected all of our clients because we detected it with the site scanner. The blog post is about a fake malicious WordPress plugin that was installed on a couple hundred websites. We saw an increase of websites affected by this specific attack, and that's how we detected it. Somehow they managed to go through our security checklist, and they uploaded that malicious plugin, and we put it into quarantine. So all those websites were not affected in any way because the malicious code was captured by SiteScanner. It was put into quarantine, but we still detected it. We wrote a web application firewall rule that protected all the other websites on our infrastructure. It not only works as a source of information for protecting globally all of our customers, it does several things. It scans your website every day and finds threats and specific malware, which could be incorporated into your database, or it could redirect your visitors to malicious websites. You could, for example, have downloadable malware. It will detect it when a daily scan is performed. And it alerts you, sends you a notification, and it gives you tools for reaction. So you can fight the hack, you can clean the website, and you can move on. So those are the three main aspects of SiteScanner. I would like to talk a little bit more about the two plans of SiteScanner and how they can protect your website. The basic SiteScanner, it has an automated scan which every day scans your website just like a regular person would access your website. Imagine a user using a browser that opens your website, browses the website, and the scanner tries to find malicious things, such as malicious redirects or downloadable malware. It scans about 10 pages of your website, and if it finds something, it sends you an email notification. You also have weekly reports that give you shorter information. You have a history of the last 30-day scans. The new thing that we added was the Site Protect mode, so you can manually disable certain access for attackers that are trying to exploit something. For example, you can disable FTP. You can also disable certain dangerous PHP functions, again, to harden the security of your website. On top of that, you can always start a manual scan to make sure that there is nothing bad in there. The premium plan it also performs another version of a scan. It performs a deep file scan of all the files on your hosting account. So we do scan all the files, and if we find something malicious, you will be informed immediately. Again, that's a daily scan, which is automated. Here's the really useful stuff here, really important addition. We sat down and identified all of the ways a file can be uploaded to our system, like PHP upload functions, file manager, FTP. Installing a new plugin or theme into WordPress is also something we cover. Whenever that happens, we do have an automatic scanner. And if something is found, then in the premium plan, you can configure what happens with those files. And you can send them to a special system folder, which is a quarantine. So SiteScanner is a really useful tool in the toolbox that you can add to your website in order to make sure that you are protected, and you also get notifications when something bad happens, and you have the tools to clean things up, lock down your website, and fix the issue. As part of the cybersecurity month, right now you can test that for free for 3 months. So you can get the SiteScanner, use it, try it for 3 months, and see if you like it or not. Then you can renew it if you want. Number 6 threat that we have identified is related to identity theft. And what we mean by that? So we often see attacks that target people specifically. They are related to social engineering, and they're also related to phishing. Those are very successful because very often people in a chain of events are the weakest point. No matter how advanced systems you have about monitoring, prevention, intrusion detection, eventually a person could open the door for the bad guys and they can get access to your data. If you take a look at the biggest hacks that happened the last couple of years, all of them are related one way or another to a person giving access unwillingly to someone. They're very successful because they target specific people. In order to fight those attacks, you have two things in mind. First, you need to educate yourself and to try to recognize those attempts to trick users into believing that they are communicating with someone trustworthy, but in fact, they're communicating with an attacker. Let's say that you have received an email that you need to renew some services with Amazon, but the email could not be from Amazon. If you click a button, go to a page, provide your credit card details, then you are a victim of an attack. It's pretty much the same with your website. Someone could trick you into providing your login details or sending you information about your domain name or something like that to an unauthorized party. Lately, we've seen an increase in attacks that also target some of our customers. Some of our customers complained that they got some phishing emails from people to renew their domain names, but we haven't sent those emails. We instruct people how to recognize phishing emails. We wrote a blog post about it. We are constantly monitoring those emails. We are blocking them. We are analyzing the emails. We are reporting websites that are hosting such pages where you input your user and password and they're being taken down. So identity theft and pretty much anything that has to do with your personal data is a really important subject to discuss. And there is no super good solution for that. You have to be aware that exists and to be vigilant about such attacks. One thing that you can do is to protect your domain names. Hides the information, the whois information for the person who owns the domain name. That is useful because we found out that some of the attacks that I mentioned, they originate from data which could be obtained from whois databases of domain names. So step one, personal information is hidden and people cannot easily see their email, their address, their names. So that's another thing that you should consider getting. Even if you have your domain name purchased from another company, then I strongly advise you to get ID Protect for your domain name. Moving on, what happens in case you have been hacked? I mean, that happens. In the beginning, I said that you can achieve bulletproof website security. Part of that bulletproof security is knowing what to do in case you are hacked, to have a disaster recovery plan, to know how to act if that happens. Don't panic. That happens, and it has happened to me. It has happened to many other people. As I like to say, there are two types of people in this world: people who have been hacked and people who eventually, at some point, will be hacked. Well, don't panic and revert to a clean backup. More than 99% of the hacks out there could be solved in combination of early notifications and a clean backup. With our backup system that takes care of providing you with the backups that we create every day, I'm certain that in 99% of the time, you will have a clean backup sitting on our backup servers and you can restore your website from it. So reverting to a clean backup is the easiest solution. Of course, sometimes that's not enough. If you restore to a clean backup, your website may become vulnerable again. Like you're restoring to a version which was obviously hacked somehow. So you have to do other things in order to protect your website from that event reoccurring in the future. That includes many things. When you restore from a backup, after that, it's a good idea to change all the passwords for WordPress, for your email accounts, for FTP, for login to your user area, to upgrade all the plugins, all the themes, the WordPress core, and pretty much all the software you are using. You should also check your devices. Are you using the latest version of Google Chrome? Google Chrome had several very critical security releases during the last couple of years. So it could be your client software that somehow led to your website being hacked. Take good care of your devices. Upgrade your browsers, upgrade your operating system, and upgrade your phone, upgrade your tablet, and everything you can think of. I strongly advise you to use an antivirus software on your device and to regularly scan your devices for malicious files. If restoring from a backup doesn't work, then you can also order cleaning. Cleaning services are something that fixes such issues and very effectively. We do offer paid cleaning services, so if your website gets hacked and you cannot restore from a backup, or you don't want to go that much back into the past, like let's say that your clean backup is from 15 days ago and you have important information that will be missed, then you can order cleaning. We have automated tools that will help us clean the website, remove the malicious code, and leave only the legitimate one. So it's not a problem that you could be hacked. It's a problem that you may not know what to do. It's not very difficult to have a plan. You should communicate well with your hosting provider, and you should know that your hosting provider works for you in order to make sure that if something happens, they've got your back. They can restore from a backup, and they can assist you protecting your website by upgrading the software that you're using. And we do all of that. With that, I would like to talk about the last thing, which is probably the most important one. All of you that joined our webinar today obviously want to know more about security, how to protect your website, how to mitigate attacks, how to reduce the risk. The most important thing is to have a security-oriented mindset, to be informed, to be involved, and to be focused. I know that for some of you, that's not the core of what you're doing. You want your business to run online and to not think about all the tiny little details. But dedicating like even half an hour to just get informed about trends, to upgrade, for example, your Google Chrome, or to see how we protect you with our additional services, to communicate with your hosting provider, to ask them how often they make backups. You have easy access to those backups. Can they help you in case you get hacked with the cleaning service? That's the most important thing, because one day if something happens, like, you won't have enough time to react if you're not involved into the whole security process. And I do believe that since you are here today, you do have that mindset. And it's awesome to continue your interest into that topic. I would be happy to answer some of your questions.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. I see a lot of questions today, nearly 50, so we'll try to address as many as we can. I will start with a question that I believe we already addressed in some ways, but if you can do just one sentence recap, it will be great. I'm hoping this will cover ways to secure a website without paid for plugins and additional security options.
Okay, so yeah, I mentioned some paid services that we offer, like the Site Scanner, which is a state-of-the-art system. And as I said, I highly recommend people to use it. But even without the Site Scanner, we are a company with a security-oriented mindset. And the things that I mentioned, the ones that are free on our platform, the ones that we provide, like our WordPress security plugin, or the artificial intelligence system, which blocks millions of brute force attempts and millions of attempts that attempt to use a security vulnerability in end user software, they are free. They are there to protect the majority of attacks. We stop with them more than 99.999% of attacks of malicious requests. Those are the systems that I wanted to talk more about because many people do not know about them. And when we bring awareness about those systems, we kind of raise the bar. We raise the bar for the whole industry. Because next time our users go and purchase hosting services from other companies, they will look for the same solutions. And my goal here is not only to present like the paid services that I mentioned, but also give information to people what to look for in hosting providers, in WordPress plugins, or CMSs in general that will increase the level of security of their websites. That was a little bit more than one sentence, but I hope it's worth it.
Yes. Okay. So the next question is very interesting one as well. Is it necessary to apply the same level of security to the SiteGround staging site than the live site? Can the staging site be used to get to the live site?
That's a very good question, by the way. So staging websites are potentially a backdoor for attackers. The first and most important and successful strategy is to not leave your staging websites publicly available, because in 99% of the time that's not needed. But that's not always possible, and I know that. So if you can, password protect the staging website and use it only from your company IPs. But if you can't do that, then use the SiteGround security plugin on WordPress staging websites as well. Limit the number of login attempts towards your staging website. Because if they manage to access your staging website, chances are that the staging website will have some information in the database that will also be probably in the production database. So they can gain access to some information like emails or addresses or products, and they can edit that. They can send malicious traffic from the staging site to other sites. Another thing is that the staging websites, they are on the same servers where your production website is. And if you forget about the staging website and you do not upgrade the plugins on the staging website, they can access the files through the staging. In that case, the SiteGround site scanner will help because it will quarantine everything in case the staging website is left out, and regularly review the number of staging websites you have, because you can have 1, 2, 5, 6 staging copies of your website, and delete the ones you don't need.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, the standard SSL is Let's Encrypt. Is this sophisticated enough for protection?
As I mentioned, the standard SSL certificate that we offer for free for all the domain names that are hosted on our servers. Let's Encrypt is a authority that issues as a very big number of certificates worldwide. They are free because that's an initiative which is driven by community and also supported by some of the biggest tech giants. We are also sponsoring Let's Encrypt. And they do offer a great service for issuing free certificates. So there is no warranty about those certificates. Like the traditional registries that provide paid certificates, they issue the certificates with warranty and with additional checks in order for you to get that certificate. For example, a wildcard certificate, which is issued by Let's Encrypt, and the normal one, they have a validity of 3 months. So every 3 months you need to renew. When you get a paid one, it's for at least an year. I think all of the paid certificates get a warranty. That is rarely something that you will use, but it's still something that is provided with the paid SSL certificate. So for peace of mind, you can get that. In my opinion, both certificates work well. But for example, if you're an institution that needs to cover some security compliance stuff, then the paid one, as I like to say, like if you cannot afford to pay for security, you cannot afford a data breach. Because usually when you are hacked, you will waste way more financial resources and time, and the time of your employees to fix something. So in my opinion, it's a low-hanging fruit. Like definitely use the free certificate, like that's for sure, because it's free, because you have access to it, and you have nothing to lose. At some point, if you become bigger, if you have some concerns, if you want a warranty, if you have to display on your website a badge which identifies this website as the one that uses a paid SSL certificate, that increases the confidence of your site users. So the free ones work fine. If you need a little bit more of protection, of peace of mind, then use the paid one. So we have options for everyone.
Thank you for the clear explanation. The next question, is it true that a longer password with alphanumeric characters is stronger than a shorter one with more complex characters?
Yeah, it is. So, as a matter of fact, today I read an article about power for video cards, and they tested brute forcing really complicated long passwords. They were able to guess passwords that are 12 characters long without many special characters for just about 20 to 30 minutes. My passwords are 40 characters long with many alphanumerical and special characters into them, are close to impossible to guess. And to extend the answer, not only use a long one with random characters, but also whenever possible, use two-factor authentication. That's it. It happened to me. Like some time ago, someone accessed my Facebook account, and if it was not for two-factor authentication, they would have hijacked my account. Two-factor authentication saved me. I just changed the password, that's it.
Thank you. The next one is an interesting question. I've read that a two-factor code texted to a user's phone can be hacked as well. How much of a concern is this?
Two-factor authentication is not something which is 100% bulletproof. You can still access an account by gaining access to the 6-digit that two-factor authentication uses, but it's much, much harder. That needs to be a targeted attack. 99.9% of the attacks are not like that. What we see on our servers is that hackers, they don't really care about hacking your specific business. They care about hacking as many websites as possible. Then they use those websites to send spam emails, to redirect visitors to websites in order to promote some products, to gather data from those users and so on. If it's a targeted attack, then yes, two-factor authentication could also be vulnerable. And there is actually another layer of protection beyond two-factor authentication, which I have not discussed today, but it is using physical security keys. So think of physical security keys as something that you need to have with yourself, like a device, a USB device, that you need to plug into your computer and connect to your phone in order to access your account with a provider that supports physical security keys. Most of the major providers and platforms support physical security keys, like Facebook, GitHub, Twitter, Amazon. So unless you have that USB stick, you cannot access the account. So that's very secure. But I think that not everyone needs that. Like high-profile people, like journalists, politicians, like C-level executives of companies, that's great for them. For the rest of us, two-factor authentication works just fine. And if you combine two-factor authentication with notifications, let's say your WordPress sends you a notification when someone accesses your account, then you're okay. Because even if someone gains access to the account, you will be notified. You will be able to lock people out to change the passwords. Like our WordPress security plugin, it allows you to click a button and log out all of the users that are logged into your site and change the passwords to force password change for everyone.
Okay, next question. How does SiteGround plugin compare with the well-known plugin WordFence?
Those are the two most popular security plugins on the market. I personally think, and that's also proved by the number of downloads and the feedback of people, that they're on the same level. We offer all the essentials for a WordPress website to be protected. We give administrators the option to two-factor authentication, to log out our users. We send reports that inform you about the activity on your website and how traffic affects you. We protect with web application firewall. So WordFriends, they're doing a great job. And I think that ours is pretty much doing the same. One advantage that I think we have specifically for SiteGround customers is that our plugin plugs into our artificial intelligence system that I talked about. Like our centralized system gets feedback from many sources, and the SiteGround security plugin is one of them. We get meta information from WordPress websites that have our security plugin installed. And for SiteGround specific customers, we do have an additional layer of security only because we own like the infrastructure and the plugin and the hosting environment. So combined, that gives you a higher protection. If you are hosted somewhere else, both plugins will do just fine.
Okay, the next one is something like a suggestion that might be considered. So is it possible to have Site Scanner at an account level? I have multiple websites and paid for Site Scanner only for my main one, even though it's not live, but thinking of having a Site Scanner for the entire file structure will be really useful.
Right now, the way our hosting offers are structured, you have a plan, a hosting plan, and some of our hosting plans offer you the ability to have multiple websites part of one hosting plan. You have separate websites part of that single hosting plan. Those websites are dispersed on our hosting platform, and they're totally separate entities. If one of those websites gets affected by something, the rest will not be affected. Site Scanner right now is engineered to work per website. It scans the website that you purchase it for, all the subdomain names that you probably have for that website, all the files part of one single website. Because of the fact that websites are dispersed around our infrastructure, it's not really possible for the Site Scanner to scan multiple websites. And it does scan a specific domain name. So a single Site Scanner scans the main domain name of every website. And it will be very difficult for the Site Scanner to go through a list of websites because of many challenges. If we find something in a separate site, we have to report it, and then you have to have local tools for every website. At this point, Site Scanner works per website. I think that for the foreseeable future, it will remain the same, but I will have that suggestion in mind and see how we can offer it bundled for all the websites in the hosting plan.
Okay, and maybe as a last question for today, saving passwords on Google, is that safe?
I am a security freak, and I do not save my passwords anywhere except on my device. I save all the users and passwords into a password manager application, which sits locally on my computer. It's called KeePassX. There are multiple such applications. Like, I then encrypt the file, and I'm sure that even if someone steals my device, first, that's encrypted, they cannot open the file. Also, I'm sure that a data leak or an attack towards another company will not reveal my login details to a third party. There are services that make your life easier, like saving your users and passwords into Google or LastPass, and they are good. Don't get me wrong, I'm just a freak, so that's why I keep them locally on my device. Big companies, such as Google, they're also freaks about security. So they are safe enough for the majority of users. I do tell people that, like my mom and my friends and my wife, that they are okay saving their passwords there. But for me, I'm responsible for an infrastructure of thousands of servers, and I have access to really important systems. So for me, that's not an option. Everything is locally on my computer. And I advise people just try to measure the risk. Using trustworthy services like Google, it's okay.
Thank you. So I think that will be for today. Thank you very much for the awesome presentation on this interesting and very important topic. It's always a pleasure having you here. And thank you all for participating. A link with the recording will be sent tomorrow. But don't forget to also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss anything from us. And again, thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, you're most welcome. I'm happy that we held that webinar, and I'm looking forward to the future webinars. And stay safe, guys. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Bye. See you next time.
Bye-bye.